Synthaholics.
Welcome to Synthaholics. Thank you so much for downloading this episode. Today we are back at Dune. We are in chapter 34 and 35. You have myself, Aaron O'Brien, and David Duncan. What's up, Dave?
Hey, how's it going?
Pretty good.
Pretty good? No, it's been pretty bad, though.
Pretty bad.
Dune. Oh, I mean, like, it's probably a good thing, but it just sucks.
Yeah, so in case you haven't been paying attention or you find this as a time capsule after we've all died of the apocalypse, Dune, which was supposed to be released, the movie, on December 2020, has been pushed back to October 1st, 2021. And why, David?
Because movie theaters aren't open enough to make it the movie any money. Which, I mean, it's smart to postpone it. Although, like, the day before they decided to postpone it, I saw, like, all Regal theaters are going to be shutting down in the United States and in Britain.
There was a big report on NPR I was listening to, like, maybe a couple days ago, how challenging these movie theaters and, like, some of the stuff they've been working around. Like, some of them have been doing, like, outdoor viewings in parking lots and stuff like that for certain, like, you know, older movies.
Yeah.
And other ways that they've been trying to combat it, like, you know, like not assigning the same seats over and over again. Like they separate people and they go in and they cleanse the seats and stuff like that. But it's still, I mean, come on. I mean, it's like you're in a giant room with a bunch of people. They're all breathing for like at least 2 to 3 hours.
At least 2 to 3 hours, yeah. I mean, people are saying, well, how come, you know, gyms are open and not movie theaters? I'm like, I don't know anyone who spends 2 to 3 hours in a gym, unless they're working there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, I mean, some people do, but, you know, the
vast majority of people are not going to be there for 2 or 3 hours.
They only spend maybe half hour to 45 minutes, probably at most.
I would say, maybe up to an hour on average. Yeah. You know, somewhere between 30 minutes and an hour.
As we said before, you know, Chris Nolan's Tenet was released. It didn't do too good. I mean, obviously, it didn't do well, mostly because COVID has impacted it. Period. I guess also Mulan 2 was supposed to be released, and then they
went straight to Disney Plus.
And then you have to pay for it.
And you have to pay an additional fee for it, which I think is going to be Black Widow. I think they originally said they weren't going to do it with Black Widow, but with everything up in the air, that it looks like it's going to be Black Widow's fate. But I mean, October 1st of 2021, will movie theaters even exist at this point?
I don't know.
I mean,
you know, it's a very good question.
Or will they go directly to streaming beforehand? Or are they pushing it out to that late next year so they can do a double feature and have both parts play back to back?
It brings up a good point, though. It's like we are at a point in our civilization, at least here, you know, in America and in most Western countries, is that we have, you know, a great infrastructure of internet that we can stream stuff. We have large TVs. We have usually sound systems that go with it. It's like, why do people go to movie theaters? Why do you think people go to movie theaters? I mean, I know it's part of the charm of going out and doing something with your friends or your loved ones.
I think there's that. That's a big draw, and that's always been the draw. You know, it's for dating and whatnot. But also, I mean, some people just say it's an immersive experience. I mean, like,
it is.
I mean, if it's a big movie that I really want to see, I will try and splurge and go see it in IMAX. And we saw Aquaman.
Yeah, I agree.
We saw Aquaman in IMAX together. Yeah, and I mean,
we did see that. We did see that.
And, you know, I mean,
we can't wash all salt water in the oceans won't wash that from our eyes.
No, but I mean, like, it was a good experience to see on the big screen because it was a visual feast of a movie. Because I mean,
but it was a terrible story.
It wasn't very good. I mean, like, I think if we saw that on a regular theater, I think we would have been even more disappointed. But the sheer immersion of an IMAX screen is just amazing. And the next best thing is the RTX theater over at the Galleria that's got basically a subwoofer in your seat. I love the subwoofer, like the extra bass and the rumbles. I mean,
blowing your ass up.
Yeah, I know, right? Just like bump your ass. It's great. But it's the immersion.
In your sheets.
The movie theater plays the brown note the entire time you're there.
We need no toilets.
Yeah, so COVID's also a very big problem because of all the brown note being played in that theater. They can't open that one up until that worry is gone.
Yeah.
But I mean, like,
something to it. Yeah.
I mean, some movies I just won't go see in the movie theater because I don't think it's going to be worth seeing. The spectacle, it's a watch at home movie. But like The Lord of the Rings, The Hobbit, the Matrix movies, all the Marvel movies. I mean, those are things you want to be like immersed in and drenched in, and just you can't look away, or like no matter where you look in front of you, it's going to be on this, it's going to be in your view, which is great. And you get the built-in darkness, and when you see a movie on opening night, a lot of times there's the audience, the shared reaction you have to like a laugh or a surprise. It's really weird. It's almost always usually only on like the opening night or opening weekend. Usually that group feeling isn't as palpable when you're a couple weeks in to a movie theater's release. I guess because
it's totally different.
It's like you're watching it by yourself. Even if there's a bunch of people in there, because like the reaction's not the same at all. But like usually when you're there at the opening night, opening weekend, they're all super fans. So like the awe and the excitement it's fun to get caught up in, and I think it's a very human thing to want to be part of a group and have a shared experience. Which I mean is fine, but I agree with you. We've got great stuff at home. We got big TVs. We got nice sound systems. I mean, hell, sound bars even sound pretty amazing nowadays.
Yeah.
Out of that. And I'm a big fan of Red Letter Media, and they've been saying for years movie theaters are going to probably be going away. And they keep saying, "What's the point? What's the point?" And like I think, if anything, COVID's probably going to be the death knell of movie theaters, at least for a little while.
Or they're going to have to reimagine the whole experience. I mean, I know some movie theaters have been doing stuff like serving alcoholic beverages in them. And they've been making more luxury now, so they're not like, it's more of like a fancy place to go to. So that's not where we live, but I've been reading about different places that are like that. So
I think the downtown AMC does have adult beverages, but not the other. That's what I would go to. I don't want to go downtown to watch a movie. I try to avoid downtown at all costs.
No, I'm just saying it's like I think maybe they'll have to reimagine their business models and how they want to service customers. I think the need is there, the want is there to go see movies after COVID passes.
They'll probably be all different chains, because if Regal and AMC and they all die, I mean, once things are gone back to normal, which who knows how soon that'll be. Some people say months, some people say up to 10 years. So I mean, it's all up in the air. But I mean, the infrastructure is there. I mean, the buildings are there, the screens are there, the seats are there. I mean, even if they shut down, they're probably just going to sit there dormant unless someone buys it and wants to do something different with it. But they'll probably just sit there dormant, I would guess, unless they can try to sell off all their assets. But then that'll be a whole other problem. But whoever buys it, I mean, maybe there'll be completely different movie theater chains once COVID's done, if all these have, died.
Very possible. Very possible.
Who knows?
I guess we'll see. But Dave, let's get into our book. So we are still back with Paul and Jessica after Paul has killed Jameis the Fremen.
Murderer.
And how do you like murdering people, Paul? Do you feel bad about it?
I've never felt better in my life.
Feeling pretty confident. I think I could just take a life. So we start off here, and they're having a funeral ceremony. Oh, and by the way, I think we mentioned last Dune episode that Paul receives James's water because of
some fresh Janus.
Yeah, I know. They just like reduce him to a bag of water. So we're in chapter 34.
Man, that first sip was kind of salty.
So they're having the funeral for it, and so as it's happening, Jessica hears it's happening, and she kind of like moves into the whole like scene of the ceremony going down, and Paul is not with his mom, but with Chani. So Chani and Paul have just been hanging out now, so constantly. She's supposed to be helping him, but it seems like they're together a little bit too much. And Jessica even makes a point of that a little later on. She's like, oh, I'm good. That Chani, she's tempting my son. I gotta tell Paul about the ways of women and how they could be tempting. Like, no, Mom, I think he figured that out.
Mom, stop trying to seduce me. I swear,
Mom.
Stop pulling up your skirt. I've already seen your legs. It's fine.
So there's a lot of parts of the ceremony, and Paul and Jessica don't really know much about it. And actually, at a certain point, that Chani says Jessica can't be part of this, and kind of like leads her a little bit of a way. So she's still observing, but from much afar. And so they all sit there, and the tribes are chanting certain words, and they're like kind of like like the whatever the ceremony calls for. But then they all start talking about what Jameis meant to them. So a couple of people go around and talk about how, like I think Stilgar said, I fell into this hole and I was going to die, and Jameis saved me, and I owe Jameis my life and stuff like that, And then Paul goes on and says, Jameis taught me when you kill, you pay for it. And then Paul starts crying for the death of Jameis, and what the Fremem see Paul crying in the tears, and they actually start touching his face, and they're like so this is a deep, like very deep sacred gesture for the tears that he cries for him. So this is,
you're giving up water? What the hell is wrong with your boy?
You killed him. Yeah. So that was like one of the things that was like another little, maybe that wouldn't win the tribe over completely, but this is just all these little peppered in things that like, kind of juicing the tribe up to like Paul and Jessica. Yes, Paul did kill Jameis, one of their tribe members, but Jameis kind of was acting like an asshole, and Paul bested him at 1-to-1 combat, and the Fremem, they respect that.
And Paul didn't ask to kill him. I mean, like, come on.
He wanted him to let him go.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Do you yield?
Yeah, he asked him to yield, and,
I forgot my yield sign back at the bar.
It's like, no, this is to the death, Paul. There's no yielding.
No, I swear.
Yeah, so we go through this whole thing, and then, they're going through all of Jameis's belongings, and they're kind of like passing out the different things, and obviously Paul gets this big bag of water, obviously for Jameis, but they're given in tokens, like little rings, to mark how much water Paul actually has. And Paul asks Chani to hold them for him, and Chani's like looks at Stilgar, is like, oh, what's this fresh boy doing? And what Paul doesn't realize is that when you want to court a young Fremem lady, you ask her to hold your water markers.
Oh. Yeah, could you hold my other markers too, please?
These are my Sharpies.
Yeah. I need you to be my pocket protector.
I bet you do. So, yeah, so Paul made this little like faux pas, not knowing, but he dials in his Kwisatz Haderach power, and then sees like, oh, I see, because I have all this knowledge of all past lives, and I can see what I made a mistake here. So it's kind of funny how he dialed that up real quickly. Yeah, so that's what's going on there for James's funeral, and then they're to go into this. They take Paul and Jessica with the rest of the Fremen tribe, and they go deep into this cave cavern system, and there's these wind traps to funnel the air for the moisture that Jessica notices. So there's even like they've constructed or carved out these caves so it traps the moisture in better. And down deep in this cave, there's an underground lake. And Paul remembers this from his dream, and he remembers that he's going to have like a big speech in front of the thing with all the Fremen, and he's going to call for jihad there.
7 years ago.
Let's kill it, everybody.
Let's kill everyone as much as we can.
A funny thing, while they're down there and Jessica's in awe, and there's unbelievable at the water. Jessica thinks there's a superb accuracy in water measurement, Jessica thought, and she noted how the walls of the meters of the troughs had no trace of moisture after the water's passage, and the water flowed off the walls within binding tension. And she saw the profound clue to the Fremen technology in the simple fact they were perfectionists. So this is how the Fremen actually live. They are perfectionists about everything, about their record keeping, for their water, how to tie out their still suits and their robes, and how to keep their weapons. There's all these traditions on how to do everything just perfect so they can continue to live.
The fastest way to turn your dead friend into water.
Yeah. Leave them out in the sun. So, and then Stilgar looks at Jessica and says, there were those among us in need of water, Stilgar says, and yet they would come here and not touch this water. Do you believe that? And Jessica says, I believe it. He says, we have more than 38 million decaliters here, he said, walled off and a little markers hidden and preserved. And Jessica responds, a treasure trove. And Stilgar then looks at her and says, it is greater than treasure. We have thousands of such caches, and only a few of us know all of them. So the Fremen have these water caches all throughout Arrakis. So pretty impressive.
It seems like they've been holding out.
You're holding out. A lot of people are really thirsty, Stilgar. But they're saving the water for something else. This is what the funny thing is that here we have the whole like weird thing about terraforming Arrakis. They're saving that water so that they have enough water to change the Arrakis' ecology to make it habitable one day.
All right, so Chani, you're going to have to follow in your father's footsteps.
I know. She doesn't even know her father's dead yet, but...
Nope, yeah, she doesn't. She does not know this yet. But we know this. So
we know because he was talking to his dead father.
Who was a bird?
Caca!
Caca!
They leave this water cave and they go out, and Paul has James's baslet and starts playing a little song. And Chani asks about the waters of Kaladin, and Paul says, I'll tell you about that later, babe, but let me sing you this song. And he starts singing.
Wet ass pussy.
Whap.
That's how you seduce a woman.
Yeah, I'm sure she was right into all that. So yeah, so it's so they're singing. He's doing a little song for her, and this is where Jessica's like, Jessica thinks such feminine allure in that girl child's voice. I must caution Paul about their women, and soon. so
they can have sex first, then I'll caution them about the woman.
But then Paul has a weird thought. So Paul's sitting there, and so after that they play the song, and he's kind of done there. She says that Paul starts thinking in the darkness. He says, "My mother is my enemy. She does not know it, but she is. She is bringing the jihad. She bore me. She trained me. She is my enemy." Interesting. This is an odd change of events. I know Paul kind of been suspicious of his mom once in a while, but now this is like he just came straight out and say that his mom is his enemy. What do you think of that?
I thought that was pretty interesting, but I mean, it's probably all this shade his mom is throwing at Chani. I mean, Chani is the woman of his dreams, literally. He dreamed about her back on Caladan. So, and it's, I mean, even in later chapters too, like Lady Jessica makes no secret that she isn't like the biggest fan of Chani. So,
yeah.
So I mean, like this could, I think that could play into a lot of it. But also, like she says his mother bore me. It's her fault the jihad happens, and my mother's my enemy because I'm trying to stop the jihad. But you also could have let Janus kill you. That would have stopped the jihad, right?
You just die. You
Yeah,
died in North after.
It's just like
you and your mom right there. The whole thing's done.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like it's kind of funny that he's like I gotta stop the jihad from happening, and I'm like, you being alive is what makes the jihad happen. You getting to where you get is what's going to cause the jihad to happen. Like you're trying to stop it, but the only way to stop it is to kill you before you become this messiah that everyone's going to follow, and that doesn't happen.
Yeah, you jerk. Stop blaming other people.
Yeah, stop blaming your mom. She turned you into a boy instead of a girl because she loved your daddy so much.
I love my dad. I love your father. So now we're going to jump. This is the first time we've jumped in quite a while. We are now going off Arrakis, and we're going to the Harkonnen homeworld of Giedi Prime. And we get to see...
Pollution Prime.
We get to see the 17th birthday of Feyd-Rautha Harkonnen. This is the little cousin of the Baron Vladimir Harkonnen, who is supposed to be his heir.
Now tell me what you want, what you really, really want.
I'll tell you what I want, what I really... So,
birthday.
So the Baron, it's his birthday, and they're... on his birthday, he is going to be fighting in a gladiator arena with a slave. So, but before we get into everything with Feyd-Rautha and his fight, there's this big festival of the day, and everybody has off. It's like Christmas or something like that on Giedi Prime.
It's like voting, but no one votes.
Yeah, but no one votes, right? And Baron stays in power. So,
yes.
Hey, is this Baron Trump?
Yeah.
Years later.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he just moved.
He just moved. He moved to Giedi Prime.
Yeah.
So here we go. We are now. We're with some characters we haven't met until now. We've heard about them with notes and stuff like that. Is the Lady Fenring and Count Fenring.
Fenring, two Fenring. Ha ha ha.
So Count Fenring is really bizarre because he stutters and he draws his words out a lot.
Until he's just hanging with the Baron by himself.
And then it just stops. So it's like, what is that about?
He's a weirdo. I like seeming inept to everyone. Except
I wonder
Baron.
if it is an act. I wonder if it is an act, or if I wonder if it's something that Lady Fenring, because she's a Bene Gesserit, if it's something she's doing to the Count.
Ooh, you think she's messing with his brain when they're close to each other?
I mean, she's Bene Gesserit. She can do anything. So
that's true.
So the Fenrings are visiting with the Baron, and they're up in their little suite. They're their box, their private golden box that they go and watch the gladiator, and they know that Feyd-Rautha is going to fight this slave in the gladiator pit. So, anyways, so as they're talking, they're going back and forth on just what's happening with this festival and this gladiator fight, when they decide to say, "Hey, we got about an hour or so before the fights begin." So Baron and the Count, the Count is basically a spokesperson for the Emperor, and the Baron, let's talk about what's going on especially what happened in Arrakis, and we can kind of work through some of this information and maybe clear the air, send messages back and forth to the Emperor.
I was thinking they'd say "what" a whole lot more since they're in the cone of silence.
You said what? You said who?
What? Like, get smart.
Yeah, so
they could never hear each other.
They go to this thing, a cone of silence, which must be some way it deadens the sound so people can't hear what they're saying, and also it's like tucked away so nobody can like even read their lips and see what they're like talking.
They just go face the corner.
So right away, the Count tells the Baron that the Emperor is not happy that the Baron ordered the Sardaukar soldiers off Arrakis. And the Baron's like, "Hey, I had to get rid of them because all the other houses in the Landsred would be thinking that the Emperor could do this to them. And this is one of the reasons I got to keep suspicions off the books, you know." And then there's other things that happens that there's one of the things that is brought up that the Count talks about. That there could be there's still Fremen, and the Sardaukar wanted to kill all the Fremen, and he says there's hardly any Fremen. It's a handful of Fremen left on there. He says, "What about the South Desert?" And he's like, "Nobody lives in the South Desert." And he's like, "I think there are people in the South Desert."
And
the Baron's like, "Well, it's like, how would you know?" And he's like, "I heard a report from a smuggler." And he says, "I think you've been lied to, my Count." So. The Emperor also wants to look into the Baron's counting, so he wants to go into all that. And the Baron's sort of like, "Yeah, okay, you can look at my books." You know, he's doesn't sound like he's too thrilled about it, but he's like, "Whatever, you know, like you can look into my books for all that stuff."
They're on the stove. They're cooking just fine.
Cooking those books. So he wants to look at the books, and but. The Baron also says that he wants to make Arrakis similar to the planet where the Sardaukar warriors came from. Seculus, what was the name? Seculus or something is the name. But he wants to make it into a
prison planet.
Prison planet. He's like,
Varapente. They want to make it Varapente.
Prisoners? And he's like, "I sure can find people to throw in prison. Don't worry about that.
We're gonna make dilithium mines." Yeah,
Solidus Seculus is where the Sardaukar warriors are, like, bred, and it's supposed to be like an icy, terrible world,
like Varapente. And great,
yeah, exactly. So the Baron wants to do this on that. So. But the Count says you have to have the Emperor's permission if you're going to make it into a prison planet.
Mommy, can I please turn Arrakis to prison planet, please?
Please, let me turn it to a prison planet. Then the Count wants to know why Thufir Hawat is still alive and why Harkonnen is using him. I was like, well, my Mentat died. I need another Mentat. And he's like, but don't you think he's going to double cross you? He's like, nah.
And if he does, we got poison and he'll die. So it'll be fine.
So anyway, but the Count wants to order he orders him to kill Hawat, but Baron won't do it until he sees an Imperial seal on that. So they go back and forth a little bit more, but then they basically, hey, the fight's going to start. Let's leave the Cone of Silence and go back to our private royal box where we're going to watch this. So Feyd-Rautha comes into the big arena, and there's it's a triangle, and there's all three sides, and Feyd's got two blades. He's got a black glove and a white glove, and the white glove is supposed to be just a regular blade, and then the black glove is supposed to be a poison blade. But we find out Feyd has put poison on both his plates.
Well, it's his birthday. He gets a special allowances.
Right. So, and then we find out that this gladiator they're supposed to fight is most gladiators that fade, or most that they fight they're supposed to be drugged, and they're supposed to be the drug will kind of like put them into terror, but apparently this has been foregone, and the drug that they usually give him gives them an orange color, and they just painted him look orange.
They just put some makeup on him, make it seem like he's orange.
But they also Howat had who is their mentat now has made a trigger word for the gladiator's mind, and if Feyd-Rautha says the word scum, the gladiator will freeze, and they'll make it easy for the Feyd to kill them. So.
So honorable.
Anyway.
So honorable. It's a very high class place.
Right. I mean, the fight is sort of fixed.
Oh, I mean, it's fixed.
Right.
It was fixed before with the drugging. Now there's no drugging, so we fixed it a different way.
Right. Anyway, so there we go. They're going to get the things all started, and obviously everyone's very excited. And there's a lot of ceremony of bowing to the crowds and stuff like that, and the crowd's getting all charged up for it. And a lot of the people notice that when the gladiator shows up, he ain't drugged. He may look like he's supposed to be drugged because he's painted that color, but he's not. He's not acting terrified, and he's actually very aware of what's happening
and defiant.
Right. And then they realize that he has a hawk put into his shoulder, carved into his shoulder. That he is an Atreides soldier that is still alive, and that they're using to fight. So, and he's looking for revenge, basically, for everything that the Harkonnens have done to the House of Atreides.
Like you do.
So, yeah. So then there goes this whole thing where they're fighting, and it goes back and forth between Feyd putting barbs into the gladiator's arms, and he just keeps fighting. And Feyd finally gets him with the white dagger, and it ends up the poison kicks in, and so the gladiator's dying. And just when the gladiator falls on his own dagger, so technically the gladiator kills himself.
Don't.
So then Feyd is sitting there after the crowd goes crazy because of this fight, and the crowd is going nuts, and they want him to cut off his head, and the Baron says yes, but he decides not to, and he puts him into he gives orders to put him into a special coffin to be like a big ceremony of this gladiator, that he would be honored somehow. And the crowd even goes crazier for this. And Lady Fenring notices this when the Baron's like, oh man, they seem to love it. And so Feyd knows how to work the crowd a little probably better than the Baron. And the Baron's sitting there stewing over what was said between him and the Count, and also how this gladiator was not drugged, and how people can get that close to his cousin.
Ruin my plans, why don't you?
Right. And so that goes through, but then the Baron goes off to take care of some things, and then we're left with a little banter between the Count and the Countess Fenring, and they basically said, man, this bloodline of that Feyd-Rautha, it's pretty good. It's too bad that he's going to probably turn out to be just like the Baron and just be like a maniac. And so Lady Fenring say, well, I'm Bene Gesserit, so I'm going to sleep with him and get his seed. And so we'll have the bloodline for ourselves. And a little bit going back and forth between all that, just that her plan is to seduce Feyd-Rautha.
Spicy.
Spicy seed. So,
Spicy space seed. No.
so because they're lamenting the loss of Paul Atreides, and there's a saying Leigh Fenric says at the very end. The old Bene Gesserit saying, "Do not count a human dead till you've seen his body. Even then, you can make a mistake." So we end the chapter there, and so we know that there's a plan there just to even take, and we know that Jessica is a Harkonnen, and so that makes Paul a mixture of Atreides and Harkonnen.
Yeah.
So by taking Feyd-Rautha's bloodline and mixing it with whatever Bene Gesserit, they're maybe making another type of Paul, trying to at least, or trying to get to that.
Trying
level,
to make the real Kuzah Haderach.
Yeah. So, and that's how we end these 2 chapters. Dave, what'd you think about these 2 chapters?
I don't know. It was kind of weird. I was kind of wondering if it was a generic soldier, if maybe it was Duncan Idaho.
I did wonder too, but it doesn't seem like this is Duncan Idaho.
I mean, they never identified him, but I mean, I was like,
no, they
is
never
it?
do.
Because I mean, I just was wondering because I mean, this would make more because I mean, I know Duncan comes back, so if he's just like a corpse in some random hallway on a scalding hot planet. I mean, I don't see how his body could have survived for them to resurrect him or clone him or whatever. But if he's put in a special kind of coffin and on, just being killed by Feyd-Rautha, I mean, he's better preserved, so they can resurrect him. So I was like, is this Duncan? I don't know. I mean, it'd be interesting.
Yeah, I looked it up. It didn't seem like they make any mention that this is actually Duncan.
Gotcha. Yeah. So I mean, that's what I was thinking during this. Like, ooh, could that be Duncan? That'd be kind of cool. Because you just hear Duncan fighting, and then that's pretty much the end of him.
Yeah. Right. I'm not dead yet.
I'm not quite dead. I've just been captured by the Sotakar. They didn't really want to kill me. They wanted to kill the Fremem. What about you?
So, first of all, the ceremony of James's funeral, somewhat interesting and kind of showing Paul's humanity by crying but still connecting with the people. Interesting. Somehow the gladiator thing seemed to drag for me a little bit, reading through it. I mean, I didn't mind it when Feyd and the gladiator actually start fighting, but the back and forth between the Baron and the Count acting weird and saying weird stuff. And
the preamble, yeah, that kind of dragged a bit.
It did drag quite a bit, and I understand what they're trying to do there, but it just got a little bit okay, can we speed this up a little bit? So I didn't hate it. It just wasn't super stoked while reading it.
Yeah, he's got a weird way of handling exposition.
Yeah, very much.
He doesn't mix it in with stuff. He'll just do an exposition dump chapter whenever he needs to.
Right, exactly. So, but besides that, interesting developments. Basically, even though the Baron is in control of Arrakis now, the Harkonnens are that. They don't approve. They still have not got the official approval that Feyd-Rautha can be the Baron's heir. So that was unusual. We didn't know that. The Baron kind of said, "You said I could have whoever I wanted to be my heir," and they said, "Well, it has to have the Emperor's approval." So that was one of the reasons that the Count and the Countess Fenring were there to kind of observe Feyd-Rautha for the Emperor. Secondly, just the fighting that Feyd's doing. He's 17 years old, but he's very, very shielded, where Paul right now is not shielded. So it's a totally different experience for him.
Yeah, it's interesting how they're pretty close in age. In the original movie, they're they look like they're a lot further apart. Because Sting was probably in just 30s, 40s, or whatever. And
yeah, Sting is much older at that point.
Then Mr. Showgirls is
Kyle MacLachlan.
Yeah, Kyle MacLachlan is in his like 20s. You know,
You
at
can't
that
even say Showgirls. I mean, he's more known for
Yeah, I know.
being
I just think
Agent Cooper, Dale Cooper, and
yeah, I know. It's just the fact that I remember that I watched that person's review on Showgirls and saw him pop up. Like it's just funny because I totally forgot he was.
He's also in the first Flintstones live action movie with. He's like the bad guy in that too.
Yeah, he is. It's just like funny that he's been in things that I forgot he was in. He's also in Agents of Shield for several.
He's in
seasons.
Agents of Shield. Yep. Yeah. And he's in Portlandia, which is a funny comedy show.
Yeah, I've seen some.
He plays the mayor of Portland.
Yeah, that's right.
And he's also in Sex of the City. He's in that. Kyle MacLachlan's in a lot.
He's in a lot of stuff. I just think it's funny calling him Mr. Showgirls because I totally forgot that he was in that completely, and I was like, oh my god, he was in Showgirls. It's kind of funny. So
yeah. But yeah, so it's interesting to see those two kind of different, and and Paul trying to adjust to this new life with the Fremen, and I don't know, that weird statement at the end that my mother is my enemy is kind of a weird thing. So
what is your take on that? I'd already kind of talked about my take on that.
I thought that was weird because, yeah, she did set him up for all this. She set up all the pieces in a lot of ways, knowingly or unknowingly. I mean, she's Bene Gesserit. She had the genetic programming to bring him about as a Kwisatz So she had that ability. She trained him in the ways of the Bene Gesserit, so he has that training. But he also had Mentat training on top of that, and all the other things that go into being a Duke's son. So there's a lot there, that she set into place. And then because she's Bene Gesserit, they have the Missionara Protective that had kind of like set all these legends in Arrakis to get this whole thing going. So without that, this wouldn't have had any legs under it.
No, it wouldn't. And it's also funny that Paul's stumbling into all this greatness completely on accident.
Yeah,
I mean, because the fact
makes you think that it isn't on accident, that they saw this. Maybe they foresaw some of this stuff in the future and wrote it down.
Oh, I'm sure. I mean, the Bene Gesserits probably used some kind of like their magic foresight. But I mean, the fact that Paul cried and they want to touch his face, and like this is earning him brownie points by, giving water to the dead. It's just, he's just stumbling into this on accident and winning lots of brownie points with the friend.
Right, exactly. Right. So, so, I mean, definitely, because I think next episode, this will be our last chapter in Muad'Dib, and then we'll go into the Prophet.
Yes.
So this will be our, and we are getting closer and closer to wrapping up this book, actually. It doesn't, when I look at my book, I'm a little past halfway now, so.
Yeah. I've only got like less than 5 hours left of the audiobook, although I am further ahead than this, but
only 5 hours left.
Yeah, I'm getting close to the end, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean we're going to be getting close to now that the setup of Paul, and now we're going to see him fighting the Harkonnens and then into the Emperor and stuff like that. So
it's just funny. We thought we wouldn't get through the first book before Dune come out, and now we're quite possibly could get to the third book before the.
I don't know if we could get that far, but we could get pretty far. Yeah.
I mean, we'll at least probably get most of the way through the second book, if not starting the third book by the time the movie comes out.
Yeah, with things going on, it might be a lot longer than that.
Or it could be sooner. I mean, if movie theaters go away and everything if they just move it to streaming, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because,
absolutely.
If there's no movie theaters to show it in, I mean, it would pretty much have to move to streaming. Or maybe they'll make a deal with, and then split it up into a TV show. I don't know. I don't know what who knows at this point, Because honestly, I think TV show's the best way to do Dune. Because, I mean, I know 2 movies is a lot more than just one, but still, like The Expanse been switched from a book to a show, and The Boys. It just seems like it's working better on a longer format than just 2 hours. So
Oh, I agree, but I also think that people like the whole like huge, the visual feast that a movie can give you.
I don't know. I mean, like Star Trek Discovery. I mean, it looks like a movie. I mean,
Star Trek Discovery, the production levels are quite there, and the previews that they were showing just recently, they look good. It really does look good.
I mean, the finale of season 2. I mean, granted, it was a CGI vomit shit show, but I mean, it's solid CG.
Yeah.
I mean,
I agree.
I mean, granted, it could have been like toned down a bit, so it would look better by having, they needed to learn the less is more instead of just like throwing so much crap on the screen you don't know what to look at.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, they just needed a more sensible approach, but their effects are there. I mean,
right, exactly.
Discovery looks like a movie on TV, and so do a lot of things. The Boys looks like a movie on TV. The Expanse, I mean, it's got spectacularly good effects for it originating on sci-fi.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, like when they blow up the mirrors at the beginning of season 2. I mean, that was. I mean, that was
incredible.
That was stunning. I'm like, really? That they did that on TV, and that's a pretty big looking effect. I mean, it looked pretty grand to me. So I mean, more and more TVs matching movies blow for blow. I mean, granted, they do some things bigger in movies, of course, but I mean, the gap's getting a lot smaller as far as like, what Absolutely. Can happen in a movie and a TV show. So.
And going back to our ideas of movie theaters, I mean, maybe we are getting to a point where, these serialized shows, telling epic stories, like Game of Thrones and things like that, can be movie quality and tell a longer story, and people are more interested to keep tuning in for it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I just, unless the book's super short, like you can't do a one for one. It just never works. That's why movies, books that are based off of movies that are based off of books usually don't work all that well.
Yeah, right. Well, guys, for next week, we will be getting back to Paul and Jessica with the old Fremem tribe.
Ooh, yeah.
Paul gets to walk around and shown around by his new servants.
Yeah. Show me your body parts. Show me your booty.
Show me where the kids are in school, and show me, I don't know, where you keep the fridge. Anyways, guys, for any other thoughts or ideas of what we were talking about, maybe we got something wrong, or maybe there's some points we missed, please let us know. You can email us at synthaholics@yahoo.com. You can also hit us up on our Facebook group, Facebook.com/groups/Synthaholics. We'd love to hear from you there. We also have our Twitter account. We go by Synthaholic Duo as our Twitter handle. You can hit us up there. Also, a great way to support the show is go to our Patreon for Synthaholics, and throw us some money. We greatly appreciate that. All right, Dave, for next week, we back into some more Dune, and like I said, we're getting close to wrapping this book up in the next couple weeks, I believe. So, not couple, longer than couple, but probably in a month or so, we'll have this thing wrapped up.
Nice. Sounds good to me.
All right, guys, until then, let your spices flow. Well, McCoy, my boy, come mix me a drink. Before the night's over, I'll puke in the sink, and we'll cry till we laugh, and we'll both shit our pants. You're the best drinking friend I ever had.
Open up that spice rack. Jiggle it around for me.
Put a little cumin in there. Mm-hmm. A little garlic sauce. All right, man.
A little red pepper.
What about salt? Does anybody here have salt?
No. Lady Jessica's very salty at Chani.
Oh, yes, she is. Don't talk to my son.
Don't show him your boobies.
I'm not going to even say what I was going to say.
Get it started.
Let's go have a spice beer.
Oh, and have a spice beer.
Spicy rum beer.
Cinnamon flavored cinnamon.
Cinnamon flavored pubes.
Paul pubes or Cheney pubes.
Johnny, my pubes are growing.
Yeah, it's impossible.
And how is this possible?
It's impossible.
He is the Quizahederac.
I am your daddy's pubis. The new file started.
Oh my god.
It got that. This will probably be the outtakes.
No! Alright. Alright, let's do it.